So how do you smash all these records into one video of Swedish prog and psych? It's impossible. So the only way I can do this is by showing what I have in my collection and try to show a range of different genres within the genre, to give you a glimpse of what's out there, and do the research if you're interested in some of the pieces that I'm talking about. So yeah, I'm gonna do this chronologically. We're gonna start in 1970, and we're gonna finish this video off with a piece from 1976, so enjoy. Starting off, I'm gonna show a record that I don't own, and it's the only thing I'm gonna show that I don't own, and it's this one. It's Festen på Gärdet from 1970. Now, Bo Anders Persson from Persson Sound and Trägas och Stenar, he and a bunch of other guys arranged this sort of free concert, outdoor concert, Swedish equivalent of the Woodstock Festival, as a demonstration for commercial events and the raising of the ticket prices. He wanted a concert or outdoor event where bands could contribute from the prog circuit or the popular music at that day, but also the audience to be participating in the creation of the event. And that's why it's important. It's a 2 LP set, and as I said, I don't own it because there's a bunch of different songs and artists that I don't need or I don't like. But then again, there's a bunch of stuff on there that is really good. But as a historical piece, it's really important, and it's a rare record, so it's not cheap. It's the piece that signifies the hippie movement, really in Sweden and in Swedish music at this date. The second record, still 1970. If you remember, the last one as I showed in the latest video, the part 1 was Epigrågefeldts Ja det är det from 1969. He sang in Swedish. Now this group here, November and Ny tid är här, they really did that all the way through, and this is more like a hard rock record. A little bit of prog, I can hear a little bit of prog in it, but more garagey rock. It was a commercial hit, and this spawned a lot of other artists to dare to really do their thing in their own language. I tend to categorize Swedish prog and psych in two different movements. We have the political side, with political lyrics, but we also have the instrumental, more advanced, experimental kind of music, and that's the one that I'm leaning towards in my collection or collecting. But one that is very political is this one, Gud i brallan, Ute i vår hage, and this is almost punk before punk was invented. A very garage rocky, punky in sound, quirky in its lyrics, very political also. Almost like a statement, really, and it's an early Silence piece, also the famous Silence label. That's why it's kind of cool to have. And moving on, the next one is more progressive rock, but it's a soundtrack, in my opinion, kind of important to show. It's En kärlekshistoria, a love story, the music from Roy Andersson's movie, which is fantastic, just as the music. And you have the ones playing here is Atlantic Ocean, and Atlantic Ocean is a great progressive group from Sweden back in the day, in this time period, and it's a very rare record to find, very rare. So maybe this is the next best thing, but yeah, it's poppy, it's rocky, very progressive, dreamlike at times, just a fantastic record, highly recommended. And now I've shown heavy rock, I've shown ordinary progressive rock, a little bit softer, dreamy-like, the political side of the prog in these 3 records that I've shown. The next one we can debate if it's a progressive rock record. I don't think so, but it's in the book and it's in my collection, in the Swedish prog collection. But it's progressive in one sense, that it spawned a lot of other things and inspired a lot of other musicians to move forward and do their thing. And it's Gill Unit with the Orangutan from 1970. Gill Unit stands for Gunnar Lindqvist Unit, Gunnar Lindqvist, yeah. And it's a record, a free jazz big band record of the who's who in the jazz circuit back in the late 60s, early 70s, but also a bunch of more jazzier prog people like Bosse Skoglund on drums, amongst others. And this inspired a lot of more jazzier music groups back in the day, like Arbete och Fritid, Iskra, and so forth. And you can't complain on the cover. And you may ask yourself, where is all the singer-songwriters? Where's the Dylans and stuff like that? And there were those people also in Sweden back in the day, like Cornelis Vreeswijk and so on. But on the Silence label, they went on to promote a girl called Turid, and she's the Joni Mitchell of Sweden, one could say. This is Victress Visor, her debut from 1971, with a lot of who's who from the Prog area. Palle Danielsson, Björn Jison Lind, Kenny Håkansson from Kebnekaise, and Joakim Skogsberg, who did the fantastic Jola Rota record. This is magnificent, sung in both Swedish and in English, and fantastic artwork also. Her best and one of the best Swedish singer-songwriter records, in my opinion, on Silence. When Atlantic Ocean, that I talked about on the Roy Andersson soundtrack, Kärlekshistoria, when they disbanded, Sten Bergman went on to assemble a new group, and they called themselves Get Brynner. This is their solo debut record, instrumental prog with that kind of traditional folk tunes in it, very, very much Swedish prog, with a touch of jazz and all the other stuff that I've talked about. They also hired Bo Hansson to do some work on this, and the first side is live and the second side is studio material, with a killer artwork on Silence Records. This is one of the best pieces that has come out in Swedish history, music history. I just love this record. Some of you may know that there's a girl called Doris, who released 2 records, I think, in her career, late 60s, early 70s, and she had a hit with Did You Give the World Some Love Today, Babe? I have that record too, but it's more of a pop record, even if it's in the prog book, and a killer lineup behind her. A very, very good pop record. That band is on this one that I'm going to show you, and the leader of the band is Janne Karlsson from Hansson and Karlsson, the drummer. And it's Feta Heta Linjen, their second record. The first one was released in 1971, and this was released in 1970, 1971. This is 1971, excuse me. A censored, kind of quirky cover, and there's the inside of the gatefold, and it sounds just like this. A lot of humor, but great musicians, really, really good. But they blend this jazzy kind of, sort of good jazzy rock with a lot of humor in the music, almost Zappa-esque at times. It's recommended, it's not essential, but it's a cool piece in the prog catalog. So talking about the event of Festen på Gärdet, the first record that I don't have that I showed, this is also an event, and in the last video I did, the part 1, I made a video collage in the beginning, and some of the material was from this event. It's Låt almarna leva from 1971 also, and it's a bunch of singer-songwriters on this one live. Now, they wanted to build a subway station in Kungsträdgården in Stockholm, and to do that they had to cut down a lot of elms, these big, huge-ass trees. But the people got together and demonstrated against them being cut down, and the elms are still standing today, and there's no subway station there, at least. As I said, a bunch of singer-songwriters and some political chats. But as a historical piece, it's really interesting. Not so much in the music sense, I guess. And to something much more interesting, and this is the kind of stuff that you have to seek out. This is Joakim Skogsberg with the record Jola Rota. doesn't get more underground than this. Joakim Skogsberg, he's humming these traditional folk tunes like in a droney manner, and behind him he has some great musicians like Pulger Rogefeldt, who also I think produced the record, Mats Glenngård and Thomas Netzler and Göran Lagerberg from Tages, the first record I showed in the first video. He plays cello on this. It's originally from the Gump label, which were an experimental record label, put out a lot of crazy stuff, and Subliminal Sounds did a perfect job re-releasing this, because the original is so hard to get. A really interesting, one of the most interesting pieces of music that came in this time period in Sweden. The next record is a great group of musicians from Gothenburg, and this is a pretty well-known record because of its fantastic artwork and krauty approach. It's Elianas trädgård, and the title is Framtiden är ett svävande skepp förankrat i forntiden. Once again, Subliminal Sounds re-released this as a 2 LP set, and I have the original also, but not in this great condition, obviously. Just a fantastic, very like jammy, long-ass songs, psychedelic, krautish record that also was put out on the Silence label back in the day. And this is now, we're at 1972. A fantastic piece of Swedish music. And also 1972, now Made in Sweden had this band, and Slim Borgund, the drummer, and the guitarist Jojje Wadenius, they went along with the couple Dominic to put out this record, and they called themselves Solar Plexus, a 2 LP set of jazz rock in the highest fashion. Just an amazing jazz rock record. Check out the first track on the first side, Boya Bass. It's just amazing, and this is actually my signed copy by Jojje Wadenius himself. 6 months after this was released, they re-recorded the lyrics in English, and the guy who did that was Tommy Körberg. So there's an English version of that too, but that's really rare. And he joined the group after that, and they released 2 more records, if I'm not mistaken. And 1972, and now maybe the most known record of them all, it's Sagan om ringen, Lord of the Rings, the interpretation of the Tolkien book by Bo Hansson, also released on Silence Records, with a killer lineup. And yeah, it's hard to talk about this. Everything has been said already. But one of the best progressive records that ever came out from Sweden. Fantastic. If you want the original, you don't want it to say some distribution here. You want the Silence to be bigger. I had an original copy, and I sent it to Chris Cole. Okay, so the next one is also a pretty well-known record, and it summarizes the kind of Swedish folk, traditional folk with progressive rock at its best, and it's Kebnekaise, named after the highest mountain in Sweden. Lovely record, and if you have Heritage by Opeth, maybe you recognize the backside. I think Mick Åkerfeldt has looked at that backside cover a couple of times. Fantastic music, fantastic musicians, and then they went on to do a bunch of stuff after this, but in my opinion their peak. And in 1969 Samla Mammas Manna formed, but in 1973 they released Malted, which in my opinion is their best one. Costa Petrea and Lars Holmer, or Holmer, I don't know, does a fantastic job of blending almost like circus and theater music with progressive rock, and what you get is a little bit of a Zappa-esque kind of sound to it, a lot of humor but complex jazzy music, so highly recommended. So the last one in 1973 that I'm going to show you is more jazzy, and a couple of records now is more in that genre. But it's in the prog book, and you can debate it till the end of times if it's a prog record or not. But I'm going to show it anyway. It's Pop Workshop, and this is volume 1. Initiative by two Polish guys, Władek Gulkowski and Nimlowski, I can never pronounce that. And Janne Schaffer also on guitar. And the 2 volumes has 2 American drummers. The volume 1 is Ed Tickpen playing drums, and the second one is Tony Williams, famous from Tony Williams' lifetime, and before that Miles Davis. Cut here in Sweden, and it's just such a fantastic record, or records, both are magnificent. Highly recommended. Is it prog? I don't know, but fantastic music, and it came out in the time period of the prog, so maybe, I guess, a little bit. And moving on to 1974, we have Eggba's first record, jazz fusion group, and a year or 2 later they released Jungle Jam, which in my opinion is their best one, but this is the debut record. Fantastic jazz fusion, and the guys on this one went to other great fusion groups later on, like Bitch Milk and Arbeten och Fritid, I think, De Gladas Kapell, amongst others. Highly recommended. If not this, then Jungle Jam. And staying in the jazz fusion realm, 1974, we move on to Ablution with Jan Schaffer also, but a bunch of English musicians. They did a project called Baltic, which is not as good as this, but they mixed English musicians with Swedish. They went on an English tour, came back, made this record. You have Jon Gustafsson on electric bass, and he's most famous for Quartermass, and also joining Roxy Music later on in his career. This is a fantastic record, really good, heavy fusion and prog rock. Check it out. And arriving to 1975, and I've shown a bunch of different genres, but now I'm leaning more into, the movement is leaning more into different types of genres within the genre. It's, I can't talk, a long video. But Råg I Ryggen was more of a heavy rock outfit, where a couple of songs have that kind of Swedish progressive kind of attitude to it. But it's a rare piece in the Swedish catalog, or prog catalog. Awesome cover artwork, and every second song is good on it. So check it out if you're interested. And maybe in 1975, maybe the most proggy record I'm going to show you, and proggy in the sense that it's progressive, it's something different, it's a statement, a political statement, and it's Belinda by Tom Zacharias. Belinda is a very unusual record. It's great prog rock musicians playing great music, but they hired Swedish like porn actresses to talk lyrics onto the record, and I can't even say the titles because it's so dirty. And the only way they sold this were through dirty magazines. But this, I guess, was just like a statement, or sort of a way to try to experiment, because Tom Zacharias went on, and the next record he did was a children's record. So I mean, it's almost unlistenable because of the lyrics and the singing or talking. But as a music piece, it's important, I think, because we have to find ways to move the music forward, how quirky it may be, to do that. And Tom Zacharias, he chose to try to do that, and if he succeeded or not, I don't know. But it's a cool musical historical piece of music, at least. And the last one, Kaipa, 1976. They released their debut record in, I think, 1973, maybe, more symphonic rock, in the same vein as Genesis or ELP. With this, they made it more heavy prog, and it's a fantastic record. Their peak in their catalog, in my opinion. Really good. Highly recommended. Check it out. So that's that. 1967 to 1976. Please leave comments if you have any or want to discuss the topic. And if you have questions, just write them, and I'll try to answer them to the best of my knowledge. And yeah, I'll talk to you soon. And Khristian, thank you for doing the videos. Keep them coming. And I hope you watched this and enjoyed this my take of the thread. Have a good day.